hello, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KCMX News Media 880. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you today, and thank you for joining us here on KCMX as we hit Mother's Day of 2019, Joe, and great weather, a lot of people out. My goodness, it's a May to remember, I think, as we go along here. So we're excited about that today, and our guests as well.
It's always nice to have beautiful spring weather when you're out showing homes and taking people around, and they're falling in love with our valley. So good to see it.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. That's what it reminds us.
It's so green. It's just the most beautiful time of the year.
Reminds us why we love it here.
This fellow here next to me is Giles, and he's our mortgage interest rate resident expert. It's a great way to describe you. You know that? Because you are all things mortgage.
I can't grow hair, so I might as well know something about it.
Yeah, and I put that right there to you.
And I keep giving you credit for keeping these interest rates in buyers' happy range.
It's all me.
You've done a good job.
I'm buying mortgage-backed securities in the background, so we're all right.
And horses.
Yeah,
yeah, that's another thing.
So okay, so how you been doing? I mean, we haven't talked to you a little over a month now. So
we're having literally our best month ever this month. So yeah, I can't really complain about that.
Okay.
Last year was my best year, so. You know, it was a little slower last year with the election, and then you had the rates going up, and then you had, the fact that we lived in the middle of the smokiest place in the world.
Yeah.
And then we thought, all right, it's a new year, all that stuff's behind us, and then we got, 3 months of solid rain. Yeah. But now that everything's kind of nice, it's just starting to go crazy again. So,
well, we're going to have a big year. Whenever you have a great water year in the Rogue Valley, it just spills over into so many other things. Everybody's in a good mood. There's water for wildlife, water for farmers, water for everybody, and the economy, everybody just seems to be in a good mood because we have water here when we have it. It's really true. And the lakes are filling up. Immigrant Lake is 97% full right now, and Hyatt Lake's at almost 60. And
it's the premier element to sustain life on Earth. So yeah, we're happy.
It's like we're surprised by it. Well, anyway, good to hear that, Guy. And of course, we'll hear more from you in just a little bit as well. Next to Guy is Jessica Bennington from the Builders Association of Southern Oregon. Right, I got that right. And of course, Jessica, belongs to Brad Bennington. I don't even want to claim him, who's been on our show many, many years. Who's the executive director down there at the Builders Association. Of course, we miss Brad. We always enjoy talking with him because he's like the front guy in the front lines of this whole thing. Is Brad? So we wish him well, and we miss him, and we'll see him next time around. So what's happening? Just Jessica, give us a quick update on. Down in your end of the world, the construction world. We always talk about what this is happening and all the statistics about sales and how busy it is and how people are out there, a lot of buyers. Tell us about the construction side. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? You want to talk right next to that thing, sweetie. Right there you go.
So we have a ton of, builder members, and they're all swamped right now. So they're all running 1,000,000 miles an hour trying to keep up with all the, building all the new homes and selling. And pretty much, they build one and then they sell it, build it, sell it. So they're all really busy. And then we're really busy running all of our events that are coming up. We just did a poker tournament a couple weeks ago to raise money for OFA, Oregon, for the affordable Oregonians for affordable housing.
Oregonians for affordable housing.
So we raised thousands of dollars from that. Travis Snyder kind of spearheaded that with our other board members, Alvarez, Tim Alvarez.
Oh yeah,
So that was super fun. We raised some money for our industry that'll help, support that and help all of us, really. So that's cool. And then we have our golf tournament coming up. That's also raising money for industry. It's our 25th anniversary, which is really exciting. And then, so that's kind of what we're up to.
Weren't the Builders Association going to build a habitat house? Was that something that you guys were going to do, or build a house? Or
we did a build-a-thon at our Southern Oregon Home Show. We built 4 tiny homes that were donated to the Hearts of the Mission.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. I don't know about the.
Okay, it might have been before you even
Brad
here.
might know.
Yeah,
Brad might know.
So you guys built 4 tiny homes.
Yes.
At the deal.
Yeah, 4 groups of high school students, along with some of our builders. They kind of spearheaded, did the teams, and then they taught all the high schoolers how to build.
Wow.
So they built the 4 tiny homes.
Yeah. And think of the conversations we've had with Brad, dating back 5-6 years, how many people we've lost in the trades, how little our schools are able to educate or help kids move towards these opportunities that are coming back now. And now the trades have roared back. That was really exciting that those high school programs were working with the Builders Association.
Yes.
And the end result were more homes for the project that's
So
done
they
very well.
So they found students were
Oak
interested in learning learning this trade.
Yeah,
Is that right?
That's something that our association really has been working on, is trying to stimulate, that at the, high school level, the trades and all of that, to help invest in that. Because if we don't start, introducing that to them at that age, then
they're going to be gone.
If it's a good fit for somebody, it's a good fit. You can make good money. So
well, it's really good to hear that that's happening, because we've been yapping at why isn't RCC doing more of this, and so.
They're
look
trying,
what it's taking doing this is
yeah.
that it takes that the Builders Association comes in here and says, we're going to, take this on and specifically do that.
Yeah.
And that's the way you're going to get new people.
Yep.
That's the only. You're probably the only way you're going to get
investing
that.
in yourself, in our building community, and in our future.
And it's certainly, I'm certainly hopefully encouraging that schools and the technology will be able to train students back into shop classes and the kinds of things that use your hands to make things.
It's good to learn anyhow, even if you're not going to do it for
Even if you're a homeowner someday.
Yeah.
And if you want an example of one who doesn't have a lot of those skills, you have to pay people to come do those things. That a lot of things you could do to take care of yourself if you just had that opportunity and learn those things, those basic things, even in school.
Well,
Brad, Brad supports the industry and our association in a lot of things. That is one of the areas that we see that needs a little bit of help. So
that's good. That's good to think, because next week on our show, actually, the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors are starting up a project with Medford 549C and their Pathways programs to create and get students interested in the real estate business and the aspects of it, everything from not only real estate brokers and the brokering part of it, but the underwriting, lending,
title.
The title companies and those kind of things are all participating in this project, which is really kind of exciting. We're going to talk about that next week with them, actually.
That's
excellent.
That's great.
That's what we need to do if we expect people to take our places when we retire and go. We better train them ourselves, or there won't be anybody left, or they're going to come from somewhere else. And who in the heck wants that anyway? Out of the thing. Before I let you go on the Builders Association. You did. I know you do your big events. The home show, and we used to go out there with those. Remember Brad back a few years ago, and all those kind of fun things. We used to out there, and you changed it. Remember they went from 2 a year to 1 a year, and then added the September tour of homes.
Right. Which we're
so
doing again.
We haven't talked to Brad or you since then. So how did that tour of homes go? Did you have a big crowd of that? Did that successful? Are you going to do it again?
Yes, it was successful. It's we believe that the public, it's one of their favorite events that we do.
Okay,
they look forward to it. They're asking for it. We have that this September, kind of the last 2 weekends, 13th through the 15th, 20th through the 22nd.
Okay.
We've opened it to renewed homes this year, remodeled homes.
New
so we're going to have
homes.
new and remodeled homes on tour this year, which is going to be really fun. And we're going to add some more new fun elements. Our goal is to, kick it up a notch every year. And then our home show in February was awesome. We did the Build-a-thon event, and that was amazing on so many levels.
Did you have, we always judge these events by the number of exhibitors, that come to them. Remember, Brad would tell us, boy, some years he had to open up the whole other end of the fairgrounds because there were so many vendors, and then some years he only used didn't even use all of the big pavilion out there. So how has that gone? Because that tells us really what the economy is doing when we see these types of events. So how did that go?
So our exhibitors, we packed out for the exhibitors, and because we had outdoor, and then we had some in the Build-a-thon where that was happening. And then we had about 12,000 attendees this year. So we had more. We keep getting more and more, which is really, that shows that there's interest. Obviously, people are out there trying to get ready for their spring projects and things like that.
There really is an interest in that.
And the Josephine County Home Show, this was the second year that our Builders Association is helping kind of guided them. That was a good success as well. That's neat to see.
It was, doing it the second year, you never know. It's kind of like, okay, is it going to, take off? Or
you never know.
We got over double the attendance. And we also had a lot of awesome exhibitors. And we did, the weather was a little bit,
Well, I always like those shows because sure you can walk around and see what's new products are out there for your homes and those kinds of things because I'm really glad you're adding the remodeled homes to your tours because new homes is for one thing, and new homes are so unattainable for so many people, but remodeled homes is a whole different gamut of
many of
new
those
area
on some of the bigger
that.
lots and things that you can't find in newer homes necessarily.
Yeah, and we actually are still building, getting the homes and builders and stuff. So if there are builders that are interested in being on our tour this year, they can contact us at our office.
I've got a great idea for them next year, Joe. You know what it is?
What?
Let's add. Can you add new homes? You got remodeled homes. Let's add additional dwelling units into some of these things and see what people do.
Probably not as big a draw.
No,
like
Pete,
the tiny homes.
Because these houses are some of the most spectacular, most advanced built greenhouse. I mean, it's such a nice mix. I can't wait to see the remodeled homes because they're going to be some. There are going to be some real
excited.
contenders, and it's a giant open house. And how many people
many
people do we see at our open houses that are just snoopers?
Yeah.
They just want to come. They just love looking at houses, and that's great. But this is all set up for a whole 2 weekends where you can just go through houses to your heart's content. It's a good deal.
All right. Well, I'm going to stump Guy Giles, but we got a break coming up here, so it's my time to stump him. we did the surveys, the National Association of Realtors, of all sorts of statistics, and we find out, Joe, Tina Grimes, remember from RVAR's executive, was on that NAR research committee. Anyway, since 2005, okay, we're talking about renters and buyers, mortgage rates and rents. What do you think the rents across the country have gone up or down since 2005 versus mortgage interest rates?
Well, mortgage interest rates are probably down from about 6% then-ish, and maybe 5.8.
You're pretty good, 6.25 in 2005.
And then I would say probably rents are up 40-50% easily.
Pretty darn close. Remember, rents are up 36% since 2005, while mortgage rates have dropped 4%.
Well, and that's why it's nice to own your own house because everybody says, well, it's just about, how much you're paying out per month. And that's very important. You don't want to get in over your head, but you're paying that thing down also. And so, I mean, there are a few benefits. So you have the appreciation on one side, maybe some tax write-offs on the other.
Maybe mortgage interest deduction for a year or two.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're also paying that thing down. And I think that's something that people don't notice. And with rents averaging about 6% increase, I think they're a little lower than that right now just because they went up so fast. But if you own your own house, you're just going to create wealth.
You're creating wealth, and that again, which just makes me so upset when the Oregon legislature, and including I will say Senator Jeff Golden here, who supports and co-sponsored the legislation. I got that bill here, the mortgage interest deduction, House Bill 3349. He's in the Senate, of course, but they of course would eliminate mortgage interest deductions, and that's just a. If you're going to help the middle class more than anything else in the world, there is to create and encourage home ownership. We all know that. With the statistics, obviously bear that out. So.
Everything they do is counterintuitive to helping the little guy.
Yeah,
and I don't know
that.
if they're just complete.
I can't imagine that
happening. Kids in a candy store.
I can't imagine.
Very irresponsible kids whose teeth are going to fall out someday because of their.
I can't imagine them passing that. I don't think it's going to pass. Certainly, the Oregon Association of Realtors and their PACs are certainly.
Well, it's not going to pass until Republicans come back someday if they ever feel like there's a reason to come back.
Well, the best part, the Republicans walked out, so they can't pass anything until they come back. So what are we talking about anyway? We got a break coming up here talking today with Jessica Bennington from the Builders Association of Southern Oregon and Guy Giles, our resident mortgage interest expert. We're coming right back to the Real Estate Show after this. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show here on KCMX News Media 880, also on YouTube at realestateshowOregon.com. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys, with you today. And, of course, we appreciate you joining us. Mother's Day weekend coming up here and a lot of activity. Jessica Bennington is here. She's from the Builders Association of Southern Oregon. And it's a bit, you've been there how long? You came back into
5
town?
years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So you've really seen the comeback.
In
building homes, because 5 years ago there wasn't much going on. Of course, 5 years ago was when 2014. Oh, there wasn't much going on then. That was a bad year.
We're just getting the saws oiled up again.
Yeah, they were just getting ready, and remember, we heard nothing, but there were no subcontractors around.
Right.
You couldn't find people to do things, and it was a mess. It was a big mess 5 years ago, and how much that has changed. Wow. And, of course, Guy Giles is here. Guy's been with us for, many years. He's our resident mortgage interest resident expert. The fact that mortgage rates, they're driving this current thing right now, I think, around here. I mean, so many people are saying it's affordable. I was expecting it to go up, and boy, look, these rates at 4. I think they're. Tell me what they are. What's your range today? What's your range this week?
Really low 4s if you got
Low
a decent
4s.
credit score. Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting to wake up in the morning and see a high 3, and you could get to that with a little bit of points, to be honest. So we usually just work the math with people, and if you don't. I don't like rules of thumb, but if I had one, whatever you pay in points, you want it to recover in the first 2 to 4 years. Meaning, if you spent $1,000 on half a point or something, and you can take the word point and throw it right out the window. Put the word percent in.
Tell people what a point is. Right.
It's basically a fee you pay to have a little bit of a lower rate.
Right.
So it's like when you see the Quicken loans or you get on that Rocket mortgage, they're always going to have points. I mean, I love going up against those guys just apples to apples because they suck and they can't close loans. But literally just apples to apples. But when you're just looking at the rate, it's like, hey, I got a really low rate.
Right.
And a lot of times it does make sense to pay a little bit, just depending on what your goals are with the house. But life does happen, so you don't want to be too deep into those where you're out 7, 8, 9 years, because just the odds of being in a house or in your loan
that
might be in your house that
because you'll be
long,
underwater that whole time that you're there with it. Yeah,
yeah,
that
just
makes sense.
something's gonna
You don't
change.
want to do that. Absolutely. Okay. What? Oh,
Oh,
well,
that's your one.
I'm just curious. Is the rates come? What are the loans that are the preferred loans right now that you're seeing? If you had such a busy month, is there any particular thing standing out more than others right now that people are taking advantage of?
Well, thankfully, I got like a whole bunch of doctors I'm working with right
Really?
now.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know where they all came from, but I'm glad. But I'm seeing a lot of people that are having smaller down payments. I mean, either you're coming in with 40% or 50%, or you're coming in with 5%. It seems like.
Okay.
Right.
We have a lot of people that are fitting into this. The Home Ready program, where if you have it in the right, I actually have one of my friends is buying a house right now, and she's a physician assistant, so she makes over the limit where you could do the 3% down. But she bought a house in one of the areas. It's not a bad area; it's East Medford, but it just happens to fall in where there's no income limits. So she's going 3. Well, anyway,
okay.
You have the ability. She's not doing that, but she actually fit in, and I was like able to get. I don't know, kind of a lower rate, even though her income was over and everything she was doing was over, just because it happened to fit into that spot.
In a conventional loan.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and one of the other things that they've done that's more recent is they're looking and underwriting the buyer. So really, mortgage insurance was just kind of mortgage insurance. You paid it. There was a little bit of a difference if you had a good credit score or a bad credit score. But people with decent credit scores are really seeing the benefit from those scores now with the mortgage insurance, and it's a lot more driven by the strength of the borrower, kind of like a bank would underwrite them.
If I have a really good credit score,
you could actually get a lot lower mortgage insurance with the same
lower
down
mortgage
payment
insurance
as somebody
okay.
with not so great of a credit
That's
score.
good news.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
usually we were just putting people into FHAs or things like that,
Right.
but it's actually because it's kind of driven looking at the whole thing. We're getting mortgage insurance companies that are getting a lot more competitive.
Well,
with
they
those.
were going to say there must be more competition out
Yeah.
there for them to start doing that. That's really good. That's good to hear. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a deterrent. It can be a deterrent for some people to get there. So that's ranging. And what about VA loans? You do a lot of VA loans, and just kind of still, what's going on there?
Yeah. Well, I just tend to have a lot of vets, so I mean the rates are still good. I mean, all of them are going to kind of track together.
Do
for
generally
the most part.
veterans put 0 down on their loans? Would you say
It depends, but for the most part, yeah.
So they do take advantage of that 0 down payment.
Yeah,
to do that.
no mortgage insurance
and no mortgage insurance. See that's what's such a wonderful advantage to do that.
Yep.
And if you have
They earn that.
Yeah.
Veterans.
and if you have any service-connected disability at all, then you don't pay that. You don't pay the fee for it. So
Okay,
and
yeah.
a lot of people at least have something. So
Well, so how are you loaning in terms of what are you hearing on construction loans? Because Jessica, I mean, all the builders out there can't do them. We've heard over this year that builders are being able to build spec, go on their own, right?
Yep.
Others are still in development or still in projects, right?
yeah, it's kind of funny. I've had a all-in-one, or pardon me, not an all-in-one. I've had a construction loan, but I've had to broker it out. And it's funny because I got this thing where I don't sleep at night if I'm not doing the best thing for a client.
Okay.
So, like Brock Scott has sent me quite a few inspires, and he always wants what's best for his people too. We've had him on the radio show.
Yeah, I was going to say
And
that name. Yeah, remember that.
He sends them to me, and then I end up saying, you know what, you can go directly, and you don't have to pay me as a broker.
Okay.
So I haven't really been diving into those, but we are rolling out an all-in-one construction loan that I won't have to charge any extra points on. It's going to be really nice, and I can talk about that in a couple
Jessica,
weeks.
have you heard from builders? Are they able to finance these projects pretty easily right now in new homes and things like that? Or what are you hearing around the office about that?
I don't really. That's something that Brad really keeps a pulse on.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fine.
I don't feel.
Yeah, it's all right. I just wonder how that would.
I haven't heard anything not good about it, so they're probably doing okay with that.
It seems like they probably would. I mean, there's certainly construction loans out there, and it seems like builders are able to get some of them too, from what we've heard as well.
And some of the concessions on SDCs to the close of sale that are helping developers get properties up and built before they have to put that money out ahead of time.
Okay.
And several different municipalities are working with builders in that respect.
Yeah. So have you seen anything new coming up from the Planning Commission meetings and things like that?
5 items on the Planning Commission docket just
this
this week.
Last Thursday.
On last
Oh, really?
Thursday, yeah.
Jeez. So what does that mean?
233 acres up at Rogue Valley Manor, up at the developments up
Wow.
there, and they're putting in their village, their Manor Village. Is in the works right now, where there's going to be a lot more amenities that are coming in there around Quail Point Golf Course in their properties there. They're going to serve the residents so they don't have to. And the big stipulation is, can you prove that that's going to reduce traffic flow by keeping those services closer?
Okay.
They're actually going to keep traffic from coming in and out more.
Now, that's what they said was going to happen in North Phoenix, up there at the Albertsons up there. Do you think that's worked up there that way? Do you guys think that's worked that way?
I go that way every day for work. And honestly, ever since they redid the overpass, and that was probably 12 years ago, everybody found Foothill. And I mean, it's not an open road anymore, so if you're trying to find it.
Let me I'll change the subject to one thing. Have you been on the new expressway, the Highway 62 expressway? Have you been on that yet, Guy?
I tried it, 75 miles an hour.
You
There's
can't
nowhere for a cop to park there.
No. We saw 2 sheriffs when we went out there earlier this week.
Sorry, Nate. I meant 35.
You work with the sheriff, too. So
Did you like that? You like that?
I thought it was pretty handy.
You've been out there on that, Jessica?
No.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it just zips you right past all that stuff. I wish they would have taken it out to Highway 140 directly instead of that bottleneck there at Gregory Road.
Easement right-of-way issues out there.
I know.
But I saw one of the Since You Asked notes in the paper talking about the new expressway, and one of the things they mentioned was the beautiful views. And I got to say, you're out there on that old Medco Hall Road, and everything is away. It opens up the views of the whole valley out there. That was an astute observation.
I wonder what it's going to do to kind of because you can't. There's no exits off of it.
Right.
Once you get on, you got to go all the way to the end. Which doesn't allow for any kind of development or any exits off the area there. But maybe you don't really need them.
My wife won't let me drive my old truck on it because it lights on fire every now and then. So she's like, "You're just going to get stuck, and you're going to have nowhere to get off."
Yeah.
So.
Well, I like it. I think it's a good addition to the valley. It certainly helps alleviate some traffic congestion. I don't know how much, but
on the home loan side, there's actually a couple things that have been coming out. Fannie Mae doesn't have acreage restrictions anymore, so. Literally, if you can comp the thing out, I mean, we were really limited on that, so that's actually been really nice. I don't know what made me think of that. Probably my ADHD, but
it's all right.
But it's actually we've got a few people into contract that we wouldn't have been able to under traditional stuff. And Fannie Mae's coming up with some things. I had a teacher that I did a loan for yesterday, and when I ran the automated system for her, it literally just asked for one W-2. I mean, we're not getting all the tax returns. I've had self-employed people lately that have been self-employed for 2 years, and we're not averaging the 2 years. They're literally, it's spitting out, they just want a 1 year, so we're able to qualify them. I mean, there's a lot of easing up that's going on.
Is that good? I mean,
it's not sloppy. It's really not.
Sloppy versus that's a difference.
Yeah,
it's a difference.
It's not what it was before.
Okay,
I
can hear you say that as we've come from these. We've gone that full circle over the years here to where lenders were just tight as heck, and you had to have all this stuff. Now then this program came, and then this one started, and now we're down. So as long as you're good with that's not happening. Okay.
Yeah, every now and then you raise an eyebrow. We had a new investor loan for investment properties where you're no income, no assets, nothing. I mean, you have to have your down payment, and I thought, that's the worst thing in the world, but the property, as long as it kind of stands on its own 2 feet, and it's like it's going to rent out for $2,000 a month, and your payment's $1,500, I guess the bank must figure, if it comes back, we're going to make money every month if we can't sell it. I mean, so things are loosening up, but in a make sense way. We're not anywhere back where we were.
The economy really is doing well here. Jessica, do you sense that too in with your thing there?
Yes.
And on all fronts. It seems like it's doing well on all fronts.
It is, and I think that's part of the whole deal. We got a president right now that's being kind of tough on some overseas things, and God, I wish he'd just get rid of the Twitter thing. But you can't really, I didn't mean to go off on, Jeff Golden earlier. I hate all politicians, just for the record. But at the end of the day, we do have a really strong economy, and it's helped a lot of the small businesses.
Oh,
the
absolutely.
Tax cuts.
Oh, absolutely.
And everybody keeps expecting this recession to happen just because we're due. I mean, literally, we've been in a growth for way too long, but nobody can really factor in the biggest tax cuts in history, and I think that's going to kind of sustain us. And, there's some things in the background with China and...
Well, we'll see. But I mean, right now, try it locally. I mean, just in our little valley, we're going to have a good tourist year, as long as smoke, and that's going to be the big issue, but... there's going to be a lot of people through. It's going to be a lot going on, and I'm excited about that. I don't see any. It can go for a while. There's no reason why you can't continue to expand the thing. People are really generating things. They're doing it. I mean, the cannabis industry itself by itself is a whole other world here. That's employing people, doing things we don't even know about that's out there. So
a lot of it we don't know about.
$1 billion purchase of a Portland cannabis operation this week.
Really?
From a Canadian company, from an outside company.
No kidding.
$1 billion.
Well, that tells you a lot, doesn't it?
They're the producers of the extracts and all of that, and they're one of the leaders in the Western region on that, and that was their buyout.
That's what
that's Silicon money.
Well, they were talking about the Green Valley, talking about Silicon Valley making this the Green Valley. Not only do you grow, but you process and you manufacture,
right.
And that's going on around our valley that we don't even know about. I mean, I hear all sorts of things.
And
we got a break coming
Guy
up
presented to the commissioners on the Marijuana Advisory Committee just recently as well.
Were you there?
Hang on.
Yeah, I see the agenda.
Oh. Okay, well, we got a break, boys and girls. We'll come back. Real Estate Show here on KCMX. Don't forget, you can check out any of our past shows at realestateshowOregon.com. We're coming right back after this. And welcome back to the Real Estate Show here on KCMX News Media 880 and on YouTube at realestateshowOregon.com. We're so glad that you've joined us here on KCMX Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, for tomorrow. It's one of those always nice days, where we actually celebrate motherhood and fatherhood and all those kind of things. Anyway, Jessica Bennington is here. She's from the Builders Association of Southern Oregon, and Guy Giles, he's a head mortgage interest expert that we've had on the Real Estate Show for many, many years. And I'm excited to hear what you're doing. I really do. And that you're busy, because that means there's a lot of activity going on in this market. And right now, with inventory up, inventory is up. And so there's more choice for buyers. Sellers, there's more negotiating power going on. And with new construction happening, I was in Eagle Point as an example. You talk about how new construction is affecting the market there. There's a lot of new homes going on, out in Pumpkin Ridge and that Arrowhead Trail area out there, Eagle Point Golf Course. And they're selling. Yep. I mean, they're selling as they're almost being built, which is a good thing. So the demand is there. The buyers that you see, is it all over the kind of the demographic board, or is there one thing that stands out in your mind there, Guy?
Well, other than teachers and doctors, the last month and a half, it's pretty much everybody. They're fed up with California, and they're trying to get out of there. And it may not be the politics, it may be the traffic, it may be a lot of it is just getting taxed.
Age-wise, you see, they are retirees, or are they other?
I'm seeing a lot of people. Hey, I'm going to retire in 2 years. I'm going to come up buy a second home. You can kind of get the same deal you would on a primary residence. Come up, stay in it a little while every year, and you totally qualify for that. And then when you sell your house, you can pay it down or pay it off or do whatever you want to do. Yeah. But I do think that's going to sustain our valley no matter what, even if we do see a pullback or a recession. Overall. These guys, and I've said this for a while, in California, they're older. They're, they don't have another recession in them. Not that they're going to die before the next one, but they're just like, I want to sit out another 8 years. I want to go, get out of the traffic now and go see some things. So I think that there's room for it to go down there, as far as the prices, a while before it's really going to affect them not wanting to move up here.
Yeah, it's not going to slow down. I think that's going to continue, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, we want smart people to come here in our valley and bring their families here as well. It's very like 40% of the sales are from outside of the valley of people moving here. That's an awful lot. It's a lot of new people who move into the Rogue Valley every year, and they all come with different reasons and different things.
Yeah. That's just the truth. I mean, they're coming. We just pray they don't change it into whatever they try to get away from.
Well, that's what
Amen.
That's why we have our we can argue those things. We have Oregon land use laws the way they are, and we have robust debates in our planning commission meetings, as Joe attests to, because he goes to so many of those things. That there is a lot going on, and housing is just, I don't know how you solve this housing of affordable housing. How do you do that? I mean, your father and I, we are back and forth on that. He was, I know, opposed at one time to the tiny home thing, and he's kind of changed, as we all have changed our little tunes about this stuff. How can we solve homeless problems and things like that? Right. And it's got to be, it centers around housing. It just does.
Well, unfortunately, the harder we make it for builders to be able to build, the worse it's going to get for the low-income people. The people that have made all their money that are moving here, they can afford, the higher prices for these houses. But I don't even remember what the number was before you laid your first brick. And I'm the one that sits across from the desk from these first-time home buyers and these people that just cannot afford, to buy a house. And it breaks my heart every time I see another fee or another. I think about my house that's a rental now up on Hillcrest. It's on the north side of the hill, and they're saying all the new houses have to be solar ready. Well, that house doesn't see enough sunshine for it ever to be a viable deal. But if that's just a blanket thing, then how are you helping the low income people to be able to afford?
And where do we house? Because they're not building low income housing much, or more. I think that word, more affordable housing or whatever. And it's a big, it's a problem here. We're dealing with the homeless issue now, I think, pretty well. It seems like we've had shows on that. So there's progress a little bit here and there, but overall, man, it's really tough. What do retirees like I've gone through, when you downsize, where do you go? What do you do? There's not a whole lot of options you have out there. Sometimes you got to move away. That's what's sad if that happens too. So we don't want that to happen. But gosh, there's a lot going on, man. I tell you what, Jessica. Before we get out of here, what's the next events that the Builders Association have? What do you got coming up next that the public will be interested in wanting to go to?
We have actually on Tuesday we have a liability insurance kind of educational thing at Bingham Knoll. That's mostly for contractors and subs to learn how to protect their businesses.
Probably smart.
You can find out about that on our website, buildso.com, which you can see all of our upcoming events on there. We have our golf tournament June 14th.
Okay.
It's our 25th annual Builders Classic. We have 36 teams. We have prizes.
Okay.
It's lots
but
of
the
fun.
next one is going to be the big event. Is
Southern Oregon Tour of Homes.
Is the Tour of Homes in September,
in
back
September.
in the fall. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's all. Good luck with
New
that.
New and remodeled homes this year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's great to see when there's activity going on. Everybody's happy down there at the Builders Association.
Yeah, everything's buzzing.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's good to see, and it's great to see that we're actually of all the things I've heard today, that you're working with students in trying to create more
excitement, interest,
ability, and the interest in the construction world.
Yes,
because there's jobs and they're good stuff, and it's good paying jobs. And that's really good to hear that you're doing.
There's a lot of kids that don't necessarily fit into the, hey, I want to go to college, I want to do this.
I know.
And I ended up in a business world, but that's that was the last thing anybody ever thought for me. I mean, I had a lot of energy, and I was out. I was doing construction. I always had a construction job, no matter what, for the first 10 years of my existence as being able to work. And it's just a good, the jobs are good. They pay well. You can definitely work into, something that you can do forever. Well, at least until you can't.
Before I get you're going to have a busy May and June, aren't you? You're anticipating a lot of activity.
I'm seeing a lot of people pre-qualified. So
that's really
first step.
That's really good.
Then they find a house.
Yeah. So that's that first step. You got to get pre-qualified, or you're going to lose out. Because even though we've told you that those statistics show that there's more inventory, that inventory varies by price range. So if you're 500,000 and above, that's one price and that's one area. But if you're down below that, where most of us are, in those ranges of $250,000 to $350,000 or up to $5,000, it ranges by neighborhood in terms of available housing and inventory. So you got to be ready to go. You got to have the letter from Guy to be able to make that happen, or you're going to lose the property. You don't want to do that.
And a good real estate agent. I see so many people saying, "Hey, I just want to call the listing agent and talk to them." But at the end of the day, their loyalties are always going to be a little bit divided. I'd say have somebody that's working just for you, looking at the properties. And if you're just kind of looking around online trying to do this whole thing yourself, I'm just
I would never do that. I can't imagine somebody wanting to do that.
It's
I
probably
like,
the
I
biggest.
like coming and talking to you. I call you up and say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
I like that. It works. Rather than some 800 number somewhere that I don't even know where it is. So fill it out online. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do.
And it's the same thing selling your house. I don't remember exactly what the number was, but get a good real estate agent to help you with that. Everybody wants to sell it themselves, but there's real numbers showing that you get more if you use a real estate agent.
Do you know that 2018 was FSBOs, the for sale by owners, was listed a little less than 8%, which was the lowest it had been in decades, actually, of for sale by owners, because they get less money overall than you do when you use a real estate broker, and that's an absolute statistic.
And and on top of that, then you get the experience. I've had people come in and say, "Well, I'm going to sell my house, but I'm going to remodel the kitchen, and I'm going to do this and that." And I'm like, "No, you need to talk to somebody, because you could be the most wonderful thing to you, but the buyer might not like that."
No, we don't. We want you to save your money. We want you to save as much money as you can on these kind of things. But we're all out of time here on the Real Estate Show today. It's always interesting. Every time we come and do this, we learn something. And so, Jessica Bennington, nice to visit with you. And the Builders Association is just in such great hands with you and Brad, and off to the great starts, great things, because there's a lot going on. And when that happens, it generates more excitement and activity. So best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Guy, how can someone get a hold of you if they want to come in and visit with you?
Just call me at 541-944-6987.
Yeah, okay.
And Jessica and her dad, they're fighting for you guys every day. I see. I mean, they're just legislatively.
Well,
everything.
thank God the builders are there, and I'm really glad to hear that they're working and there's activity and demand, because we need that type of housing too. We don't build enough of certain things, but we got to have some housing, and that's what we're doing, and so that's the way it goes. So that'll do it for the Real Estate Show. For Jessica and Guy, I'm Pete Belcastro. Thanks for being with us. We'll talk with you next weekend back here on KCMX and on YouTube as well. Enjoy the weekend, and God bless you all.